Erev Shabbat Shalom Rabotai. We are continuing with our Mishna Yomi Masechet Beitzah. We are up to Perek Daled Mishnah Bet. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'elu Nishmat Neria ben Svedlana Aranbai and Eliyahu ben Burcha Israelov Menuchatam Began Eden Amen. And Avdi ben Chaim Nachaim for the Refuah Shema of Bacha Bat Esther and Daniel Shalom ben Rosa Betok Shach Chole Israel. The Mishnah begins, En notnin etzim min sukkah. We may not detach wood from a hut on Yom Tov, because that falls under the melacha of demolishing. Detaching wood from a structure demolishes part of the structure, therefore it is forbidden under the melacha of demolishing. Now the word sukkah is used here to refer to all types of huts, not only those of the Sukkot festival. Ela min hasamuch la, the Mishnah says, but we may take wood that is merely next to a hut and is not attached to it. The walls of a hut were commonly made of interwoven reeds or pieces of wood. One may take wood that is not woven into the walls but is standing next to them. Since this wood is not attached to the walls, removing it is not demolishing. Now generally wood is muktzah unless it was intended to be used on Yom Tov. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. The following cases illustrate this rule. Mivi'in etzim min hasadeh min amchunas. We may bring wood from a field only if it is from a pile that the owner gathered before Yom Tov. By gathering it, he showed that he intended to use it on Yom Tov, so it is not muktzah. Umin hakarpef afilo min amfuzar, and we may bring wood from an enclosure even if it is scattered and not gathered. The enclosure discussed here is a safe place where one would keep things that he intends to use on Yom Tov. Therefore, even if the wood in the enclosure is scattered, it is not muktzah. Now, Tanaim disagree about the type of enclosure whose wood is permitted. Ezeu karpef, what is considered an enclosure in this context? Kol shesamuch la'ir dever Rabbi Yehuda, any enclosed area that has a lock and key and is near the town. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, and the Tfel explains that this is within 70 and 2/3 amot of the town. Rabbi Yossi Omer, but Rabbi Yossi says, Kol shenichnasin lo bepotachat vafilu betoch tchum Shabbat. Any enclosure that has a lock and must be entered with a key does not need to be near the town. Rather, the law of an enclosure applies even if it is anywhere within the tchum Shabbat. The 2,000 amal limit for travel on Shabbat and Yom Tov, we know it is forbidden on Shabbat and Yom Tov to travel more than 2,000 amot from one's town or other place of residence. This limit is called the Tchum Shabbat, the Shabbat boundary. Rabbi Yossi holds that if it has a lock and key, it is considered an adequate enclosure in regard to the law of our Mishnah, even if it is up to 2,000 amot from the town. However, if it does not have a lock and key, he agrees that it must be near the town. Therefore, the dispute is as follows. Rabbi Yehuda rules that the enclosed area must meet two conditions. It has a lock and key and it is near the town. Rabbi Yossi rules that one condition is enough. It has a lock and key, or it is near the town. And the Rav does tell us, the halacha Rabbi Yossi, the halacha follows the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. That is in a Mishnah Bet. Mishnah Gimel now begins, En mivakin etzim lo min hakorot. We may not chop wood from construction beams in order to obtain firewood. V'lo min hakora shenishbera b'Yom Tov, and not even from a construction beam that broke on Yom Tov. Since the beams were intended for use in construction and are too valuable for firewood, they are muktzah. Moreover, even if a construction beam broke on Yom Tov and can now be used only for firewood, it remains muktzah. Since it broke on Yom Tov and was muktzah when Yom Tov began, it remains muktzah throughout the Yom Tov. The rule is that if something was muktzah when Shabbat or Yom Tov started, it remains muktzah for the whole Shabbat or Yom Tov, even if the reason why it was muktzah is no longer applicable. In our case, the beam was muktzah when Yom Tov began because it was intended at that point to be used for construction. Therefore, even after it breaks and can no longer be used for construction, it remains muktzah. This rule is known as migu. Itkatzai ben hashmashot, itkatzai lekule alma. Since it was muktzah at the beginning of ben hashmashot, it is muktzah for the whole day. The term ben hashmashot refers to the period between the end of the day and the beginning of the night. If such wood broke before Yom Tov, it may be used on Yom Tov. However, there are restrictions on the tools one may use. Then mivakin lo bekardom velo bimgera velo b'magal. but we may not chop the wood with an axe, a saw, or a sickle. A sickle is a tool with a curved blade, normally used for cutting stalks of grain, because these are tools used by craftsmen to do forbidden melacha, and one who uses them seems to be desecrating Yom Tov. Ela bikofitz. We may chop wood only with the cleaver, a type of knife used by butchers for chopping meat. It is often found in homes as well, and is not specifically a craftsman's tool, and that's why the Mishnah allows it, because again, we may chop wood only with the cleaver, which is not a craftsman's tool. Another law that concerns muktzah and Yom Tov, Beit shehu male perot satum v'nifchat. If there was a house filled with produce and it was sealed before Yom Tov began, bricks were piled up at its entrance, but the wall of bricks broke open on Yom Tov, notel memakom apechat. One may take produce from the place of the breach. Although the produce was not accessible when Yom Tov started, it was not considered muktzah even at that point, because a person could remove the bricks and open the room without doing a melacha. Even a non-muktzah item, such as food, is considered muktzah if it cannot be obtained without doing a melacha. This type of muktzah is known as muktzah machmat isur, muktzah because of a prohibition. However, if one would need to transgress only a rabbinic prohibition to obtain it, it is not muktzah. The house discussed here was sealed by a pile of bricks that were not cemented together, and breaking open such a weak temporary wall is only a rabbinic transgression. Since one could access the produce now by committing no more than a rabbinic transgression, the Rav explains the produce is not muktzah. Therefore, the prohibition of muktzah does not apply to the produce at all. An even more lenient opinion, Rabbi Meir says, Af pochet lachatchila v'notel. One may even open the room in the first place by removing bricks from the opening and take the produce. Since the bricks were merely piled one on top of the other and were not cemented together, it is permissible to remove them in order to get the produce. Like we mentioned, breaking open this wall is prohibited only under rabbinic law. Rabbi Meir holds that one may transgress such a rabbinic prohibition in order to obtain food, just as the Torah permits some menachot and Yom Tov for the purpose of preparing food. The Tanna Kama, however, holds that the menachah of demolishing, even when it applies only rabbinically, is not lifted for food preparation, and the Rav does tell us, Ven halacha Rabbi Meir, the halacha does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Meir, the halacha follows the opinion of the Tanna Kama. That is in Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.